Going. All right, then. Commander Torres is here. Devlin and Not Slip. Hey. See how we doing? I think everything is looking good, more or less. Hello, Lisa. Hey, everyone. All right. Susie, hello. Happy Thursday indeed. Well, all right. Hey, and let's get the show on the road. Okay, everyone, let me see. We got Larry is here. Aura. It's so good to see all you guys again on another Thursday night. I hope everyone has had a very good week. It's been a crazy week out there in the world, I know, but I'm glad that you all are here with me tonight so we can maybe enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet. And not 5 minutes ago, a wonderful train came through, and so I'm like, I'm sorry they're missing this one, but hopefully it bodes well for the train company tonight. Hopefully we'll get quite a few more. So it's good to see everybody. Maddie, hello. Mike Dean is here. Kitchen Witch. Okay, so Kitchen Witch is still reading through the Raxura stories. Karen is reading Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. So while the rest of you let us know what you're reading, I'm back to Tom's Crossing, as you see. I know it feels like I've been reading that book forever. I have, because it goes on forever. It's 1,200 pages, as you might recall, so I'm pacing it out. But it is the kind of book that is actually really nice to read on a quiet and very just sort of peaceful, vibey night, like, we have here at the streams. And I will have a lot of things to say about it when I finally get around to reviewing it, but yes. But let's see everybody else. Okay, so I'm going to enter a 26 indie self-published competition. RFM, congratulations. Good luck with that. Let us know how that goes, okay? Please do. So you're about 25,000 words into a story is what I guess you're saying. Yeah, that's, again, big hand. So, yeah, get that going on. I'm very happy to hear it. Not Slip is reading A Betrayal in Winter. Commander Torres is reading 7 Recipes to Revolution. Devlin reading Strange Buildings by Uketsu. Now, is that a manga or a Japanese light novel? Devlin, let's see. Either way, it seems like a cool choice. Susie is reading Buffalo Hunter Hunter. Awesome. Aura is still reading Burning Stars. And RFM is reading Saturation Point. But you're getting ready to start Jitterbug. All right, then. Oh, Maddie's reading an oldie. Goody. Prince of... now, I always want to say that's probably Prince of Anun. When I was younger, I always called it Prince of Anwin. But I know that, like, in Welsh, that W would be like a long U sound. So I think it's Prince of Anun. But maybe, like, some of you are more knowledgeable and smarter than I am on that, so you could confirm that for me. I know that Mabinogion has a hard G. I learned that. I always used to call it Mabinogion. But no, it's Mabinogion, apparently. Larry's working on the Sharp series. Okay. And, and Mike is getting very meta with his anti-memetics division. Just very cool, very cool. Oh, not sure if it works as a light novel or just a straight-up mystery. All right, well, Still, though, the idea of reading internationally is really awesome. Susie finished Nine Fox Gambit. Right, yeah, didn't you kind of find that, as the more it went along, the confusing bits just didn't really kind of matter because the story just swept you up into it, so hopefully you continue with the trilogy because, again, I think the books do get better in the second and third volumes, so enjoy. And Welsh is a strange pronunciation. I've seen transliterated as Anuven. Well, that could also be true, Anuven. and maybe you're supposed to like say it quickly so it sounds like Onuven. Or Anuven, so it sounds kind of like you're almost saying Anun, but or Anwin, like splitting the difference, Oh, very cool. Still though, Evangeline Walton, that Mabinogion series is a classic, so that's neat. Always like to see some folks reading the older stuff, and I may pull some old stuff out one of these Thursdays. Anyway, great to see all of you. Love you guys. Very happy, as always, to spend these nights with you on these Thursday nights. When I was expecting heavy rain, but forecasted rain around here has either just been delayed or it went somewhere else. I'm not sure. So we have a very pleasant and peaceful night, except for big trucks rolling by. So glad to see all of you. No real announcements, except I now have. It's like I write, but it's hard to record lately because the dog care takes up a whole lot. But we might have a lead on the two brothers. You may remember, many of you may remember Buster and Charlie, right? Buster's a little boy who got shot, and he's all better now. Like he's really, you would never know, right, to look at him. So we may have a lead there. So everyone, fingers crossed, wish us well. Because, those boys deserve a home to themselves where they are loved on by a family, and they're the only dogs, and owners who will have a lot of patience for their energy. Their energy is mainly just like super playfulness. They're good boys. They can seem like real wild children, and because of their breed, when they bark, it's a very loud, deafening, and very high-pitched kind of yipe sort of bark, which probably most people wouldn't, many people would not, be compatible with. But, I'm sure out there is, possibly the family for them, and we may have a good lead. So, anyway, talking about Walton's prose, Evangeline Walton's prose, excellent, and her mythic imagination is magical. Would love to see her books get rediscovered. I may do an SFF180 Classics about that series. That's now that you bring that, I fully agree with that sentiment, and it would be, that would be a worthwhile series to talk about. Okay, Uketsu's books aren't considered light novels. They're classified as mystery, thriller, horror, per Google. All right, well, this is now just giving me more and more reason to look them up. And I assume that they exist in translation if you're reading them. So I will learn more. Thank you, Devlin. And thank you also, as I mentioned on the Discord. I put up, I'll do it later on in the stream. I do still have the fundraiser going for Taj, my Malinois. He's got the brain tumor. And that's coming along nicely. So I'll just put that up for anyone who's interested. Please, please do not feel any, sense of, obligation or anything there. It's just there for anyone who's interested in it. But it's going along quite well. The only thing is, right now, the donations are at $1,488, which is kind of an awkward number. So, it'd be nice to maybe inch above that, just so that's not awkward to look at. But, it's been getting very nice support from folks for that, and I've been grateful for that. Otherwise, yeah. So, all right. So I think that is the last bit of ramble, except to say that I did get a book in the mail yesterday from, I believe this one has come in from Tor, and I've not opened it. So we're going to get like a little one-book mini mailbag at the beginning of second session. And so we'll wait for that. And otherwise, good concurrent numbers tonight on the stream. Welcome, all of you. Right now, I know that some of you like to lurk. You don't really, hey, Kelswitch is back. Huzzah. Okay. So if you're lurking, you are welcome as well. You don't need to participate in chat. Yeah. Yeah, that would be, there we go. Yeah, get that, just sort of round that up, yeah. But it's very nice to see all of you. And yeah, so thank you for showing up and whatever you brought to read, to hang out. Oh, okay, now we're at 21 concurrent viewers. I said, you're all welcome, and I'm deeply grateful that you're here. So I hope you all have a good night of reading tonight with us. The Children of Time Acquisition. Yes. All right, yes, as I mentioned, Children of Strife is coming out at the end of this month. And I thought that it was really awesome of Orbit to do that set. In case you missed my Instagram post, I posted on Instagram. I went ahead and picked up. They didn't send it to me. I bought it. It's slipcased editions of new hardcovers of the first 3 books in the Children of Time series. And that's really nice because, the new one's coming out. It'll be a hardcover. And so they put out this box set, this slipcased edition, for people who want the whole series in hardcover, which in the States, the first 3 books have not gotten hardcover releases, regular commercial. They were in the UK when I think the original books were released by Tor UK. But Orbit here, when they picked up the series to publish in the States, first 3 books did not get hardcovers. But now they do. So they're like letting people have an opportunity to have the whole series in matching hardcovers, and they're very nice. And these hardcovers are only available in the slipcase edition, which I think is $90 retail. And I can tell that because, when I looked at it and took the books out, the actual dust jackets of the hardcover books do not have barcodes on them. So that means they're not for sale as individual items. Got to get them in the slipcase if you want that. But yeah. Okay, so that's enough rambling there. But, okay, Kelswitch is about 2/3 of the way, and Ancillary Mercy. Very cool, very cool. Okay, everyone, I have yammered long enough. Going to get going with the timer. First session, 45 minutes, and counting. And, I mean, feel free to keep talking in chat. I don't care. Please. I love that I have you guys as my little SFF180 family chat community. It's such a good feeling to have. So, right. But here we go. Ooh, good one, Devlin. Oh, and have we heard the news? In October, sequel to The Only Good Indians. So, we go. Well, thank you, Commander Torres. The feeling is mutual. That is correct, Mike. Okay, Kelswitch, you go. Ready for the train fact. Oh. So first came the train and then Disneyland. I did not know that. Well, thank you, Killswitch. Yeah, that could work, Kelswitch. No, there was definitely a distant whistle there, Kelswitch. So, maybe it could have been heading away from us. Not sure. Okay, everybody, that is first session. 45 minutes down. We're going to go ahead and take our little 5-minute break, as you all know. And we'll see you then. Be back in 5. Okay, we have returned, and so, as promised, we have a mailbag, or, a mail item, if not enough for a full bag. So let's see what's in it, like this. So, again, white envelope usually means Macmillan, Tor. So let's see what they have sent. Come on, Thomas. You used to be really quick at this. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, if you're a Shauna McGuire fan, this is the finished copy of the new encrypted title, Butterfly Effects. So let's see. Continue with the 15th book. I gotta say, Shauna McGuire, she really just produces, doesn't she? Following the Price family, cryptozoologists who study and protect the creatures living in secret all around us. As some of you may know, she flipped from doll books to Tor with this, I think with both this series and the October Day series. But doll books, though, they're reissuing all of the books in this series that they still have to kind of, as trade paperbacks, to kind of, to match the design of these. So everybody, I love how publishers are getting more and more attentive to, the way in which readers like to have, consistent, sets. So anyway, but Butterfly Effects, let me just read real quick. Gotta lean forward to my head. Hello, George. This is, well, where the heck, Thomas? Where the hell is it saying? Oh, here it is. So this is out on the 10th. If you're a fan, let's see. Yeah, and I don't really want to, there's absolutely nothing whatsoever that I could read about this that wouldn't be spoilery. But anyway, if you're a fan, if you've been curious, yes. I believe the first book is still, the first, good Lord. This is how prolific Shauna McGuire is. George, we're going to have to, find another author to make Book of the Month Club jokes about. But, so the first one is, was that accurate? I thought the first one was Midnight Blue Light Special. And then Discount Armageddon was the second one. That's how I thought that went. This has those flipped. But I think, I think they have this out of order. So Midnight Blue Light Special, I believe, is the first book. Okay, cool. So here we are. Thank you very much, Tor, for sending this along. Much appreciated. Okay, so we will get back into it. Again, George, hello. Once again, thank you again for much generosity and, whatever puns you have stored. 15, Kel Switch. And also, let me just count up the, and how high are we on the Wayward Children series? 4, 8, so we're 11 books into the Wayward Children series. The October Day series is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. 19 in the October Day series. And then just, there we are. She doesn't, doesn't do anything by halves, but, Well, to be fair, Ellie Modisit's Recluse saga, since when it started, I believe in the mid-90s, is up to something like 26 books. But in defense of that is a long ongoing series that is sort of broken up into its own individual. There are story arcs where you can start at, first of that one and then go to the end of that one and, be in pretty good shape. Like he also did with the Imager Portfolio series. That's 12 books total, but it is a series made up of 4 trilogies. So, if you're going to do that kind of thing, just, write an ongoing saga. It's, I guess, good to break them up in that way. And then, of course, there's the king of all of it, Terry Pratchett, with 40 Discworld novels. But with those, you can jump in anywhere, right? So, but yeah, so there we go. Good to have you, George. Yes, very sudden and unexpected to read of Dan Simmons passing. I had told a little story on my Instagram that some of you may have not seen, but when I was a very young sprog, right? I think I was just in college. There, in the mid-'80s or early '80s, there was a newsstand magazine, a fiction magazine, that was much beloved in its brief life. It was called, it was Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone magazine. They had, licensed that IP for this magazine, which was, horror fiction, spooky fiction, dark fantasy fiction, but then also articles. There were movie reviews in it that were written by a fellow named Gahan Wilson, who was mostly well known at the time as a cartoonist. He did these really macabre, dark humor cartoons for like the New Yorker and what have you. He wrote movie reviews for the Twilight Zone magazine, which could be gloriously scathing, right? He must have gone on for 4 or 5 pages, hating on, An American Werewolf in London and a lot of these movies, which are today classics, but he would just pick them apart. So anyway, I would say, like within the first year of the magazine, they held a short story contest, okay? And for first-timers, and I, being young and ambitious at that time, at that age, I still had this little dream, one day I'll be a writer, right? So I cobbled together something and I submitted it. I think it was probably deep rubbish, but somehow my story made it past the first cut. Even though I was, thinking back on it, I'm sure it was extremely bad, but it made it past the first cut. But that's as far as it got. And then when the winners were announced, the winner was announced, and the winner was a guy named Dan Simmons. So that was, I guess, the launch of that career. I sort of remember SFI, George, but I don't recall actually seeing any. I just remember, I remember when I think I was 12 when I started buying analog. And of course, fantasy and science fiction, and Asimov's are also still being published at that time. But I think their Galaxy was still around. We're talking like tail end of the 70s, I think. So, but I'd have to look up on Wikipedia or something to double check that. But yeah. So there's that. So, all right, everybody. Again, it's good to see everyone. As always, wonderful to see you, George, as well. And I hope that you are well. And we are going to get back into it. So let me just timer, reset, start. 45 minutes and counting for session 2, everyone. And, okay. So I'm gonna have to now look up SFI, George. Again, it's one of those that I know of, but I don't think I ever saw them. Oh, only about a dozen or so issues. Okay. Oh, here's a big regret that I have. Here's one. I started buying when it first came out, when it very first came out, because, I was a little kid and very excited. It's like, oh, there's science fiction. And I was just getting into reading a lot of science fiction, and it's like, oh, there's magazines. So I bought, when it first came out on the newsstand, the first issue, the first maybe like 10 issues of Starlog. And I wish I still had those. Because, you know, I would keep all... I was one of these really kind of OCD nerds about, I have to keep everything minty, right? Even though I read it, I would read it very carefully. Like, turn the page. You know, so, I wish I still had those. I could clean up on eBay right now if I still had those, so... C'est la vie. But... Okay. Yeah. I regret that for you as well, George. I really do. I think every day about how just what a joy it would be to watch you do Swan Lake and the Nutcracker and all the greats. Yeah. It's just going to be one of those if only dreams that we just have to live with. There's like activity tonight. In a little town like this, that's going to be EMTs. Maybe the fire department, but EMTs. It's traumatic either way. Okay. Anyway, back to it. Yeah, hopefully not anything too tragic. Hopefully not. We have one ambulance locally that is like in its garage where it's always been. And we have a volunteer fire department in this little town, but Okay, now that's interesting. Are there no copies of it scanned on Internet Archive? Because it just occurred to me like that would be my thinking, but maybe they got, maybe it's still under copyright and can't really be put up there, so I'm just thinking how much Starlog would have to cover. and to write about and talk about, even if it were like revived as a website or something. You know, if it were still operating today, because back then, in like late 70s, beginning of the 80s and all that, I mean, what did we have? I remember the first issue of Starlog had a Star Trek cover. Second issue had a Space 1999 cover. I don't quite remember the third issue. And you know, and of course there was Star Wars coverage, but there was like not that much science fiction. I mean, there was, but there wasn't like, it was not a respectable genre very much in Hollywood. It was, you know, science fiction was still very much considered the realm of cheesy kids movies. Which is partly why I think, you know, Blade Runner died so badly when it first came out theatrically, right? Science fiction was still held to be family-friendly, very juvenile escapism, you know, and, I mean, 2001 notwithstanding, right? THX 1138 notwithstanding, it was still really kind of considered the realm of, you know, the kids' films. So what that means is that you got a lot of cheap jack productions that, you know, because, you know, in any case, it's easy, you know, there's like this built-in audience, you take the kids to see. But of course, now there is so much science fiction media, television shows, films. It's winning Oscars, right? You know, Golden Globes, you know, and all the different streaming services. And then just not to mention, I mean, Starlog would just have an embarrassment of riches to talk about, and it would all be concentrated in one. You know, of course, there are a lot of terrific websites that do cover that, you know, like Reactor, you know, formerly Tor.com and what have you. But it's like, imagine bringing back the Starlog brand. And, yeah, it would just be crazy successful, I think. Surprised no one has thought to do it. Thing ran it. Yes, same thing. Yeah, it came out. The thing comes out the same year as E.T., where you have a warm, fluffy, huggable alien, who's, you know, just big. And then in the same year, you have this absolutely ghastly, dark Video Watchdog. I remember very fondly. Yeah, Cinefantastique. Right. Cinefantastique was the very first that I heard. I mean, it's available everywhere now, but it was the very first time that I heard there was a, you know, like 4-hour director's cut of Apocalypse Now. Like, you know, the big, you know, the extended. Of course, now you can get like a Blu-ray set with like every single available cut on it. So theatrical cut, and the 2 or 3 different cuts followed by the final cut, right? Which is something like, you know, 240 minutes or something. But Cinefantastique was the first that I heard about that, and it was like this detective, you know, investigation that you had to undertake to locate these lost cuts of things at that time, right? You just heard about them through the rumor mill. You know, and nowadays you can just order them online, but back then, yeah, just the fact that they were, hey, did you hear? You know, and just developed this mystique, and these magazines were wonderful for kind of creating this mystique. Yeah. You just have to do Tim Lucas. Yeah. I'm so glad Tim Lucas is around still, you know, doing his thing. Tim Lucas now does Blu-ray commentary tracks. Quite a lot. Many of them for like Kino Lorber. And they are fantastic to listen to. The man knows everything. Oh, hello, Kale. Good to have you. And so now it's like, I might buy a movie I've never heard of, or maybe only vaguely. I might just blind buy it if there's a Tim Lucas commentary track, because it's so interesting and informative and educational. Yeah. That's This is actually a beer brand. You see, it's yeah, Archrock Brewing. So I don't like ball caps. If I wear a cap, I like the army style. So yeah, but he is just, I mean, so informative for films. You know, like you can be watching. I remember he did he did a commentary track for a new release of Alphaville, and a scene will be playing, and he will be identifying individual props and things on the set. Like there's in one scene there's a jukebox, some kind of like really mod futuristic looking jukebox. He IDs the jukebox and talks a little bit about the history of this jukebox and how popular it was. You know, or that mod, you know, and how, or there's a, you know, character takes a photograph, has this little Instamatic camera or something, this instant camera that he, you know, is taking photographs with, and he'll say, that's the very first model of that camera. That was an actual, you know, model of a camera, and that's the first one of that kind of instant camera that was ever made, which became incredibly common. So just little nerdy details like that are just catnip to me. So, yeah. So there's that. But, yeah. Someone should bring back the Starlog brand. Yeah, I can see no reasons not to. But okay. Well, back to reading. That was a fun digression, but back to it. So. Yes, George, I agree. I agree. You know, he is a true movie connoisseur when he's, you know, both in and out of character. So. Indeed, Kale. You can. Absolutely. Yep, this is the old boy channel. But then, of course, we also get amazing train facts from Kelswitch, and we get that sense of. So there's another valuable contribution. So we have old school science fiction geekery and train facts from throughout history. Something for everyone. Hmm. And I wish, America had hung on to, train culture more than it did. I mean, we all got very independent, as, with our cars and everything, but imagine just, and but I know that there are still like Amtrak lines that exist where you can take like these nice, long, leisurely cross-country, coast-to-coast train trips and what have you. But it would just be nice if there was even more of that. There's just, we live in too much of a hurried life. And it'd be nice to have something there for, where there's not such a hurry involved. Yeah. Yeah, very true, Kelswitch. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's true. One of the first, like grown-up science fiction books I read when I was a kid was Earthlight by Arthur C. Clarke. This book from like the mid-50s or something. It's kind of, it's certainly charming and dated now. But yeah, that's probably a very good point, Kale. I would have to say. But on the subject of trains and space colonies, the opening scene, that book opens with a scene in which the protagonist is on the moon, and he's going from like one moon city to colony place to another, and and there's a train that he's on. He's taking the train on the moon from point A to point B, and I just thought about that for me. Something about that struck me, the way it's like, what that says about the way Clark felt about human achievement. It's that, we can do this. We realize these futures, and then one day just to sit in a train car clacking along the surface of the moon, right? Just looking out on the lunar surface and at the Earth as you pass by. And there was just something that was evocative about just that visual and that immersion in that future world that just immediately grabbed me. So yeah, I think trains will always have a role in the future. And yeah, Kale, the point you bring up there with another Earth, which magically appears, that was a big thematic point in book I'm still pulling the review together of right now, which was Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson, which is this sprawling generation ship epic, which is about a failed mission, right? And the book kind of makes that point, which I think has definitely ruffled some feathers, which is it's kind of a repudiation of that science fiction dream of humanity's future is amongst the stars and da 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 da. And the book basically says, well, no, really, we're kind of evolved for our world, our environment, specifically, and yes, we may find other attractive and possibly habitable worlds, but there will always be that X factor that we can't predict. And because in the book they do find this world that seems almost like a paradise. It's perfect. It's actually a moon around another world. And then something unexpected happens, almost like you might say the War of the Worlds effect, right? So remembering what happened to the Martians, and so ultimately, it's kind of like, yeah, we're human beings, we evolved on Earth, and Earth is where we belong, which doesn't set well for, I think, maybe with the science fiction readers who dream of that intergalactic, interstellar Star Trek future for humanity. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think distant space colonies as a real thing very likely are a pipe dream. So, yeah. Yeah, kill switch. That's, I think, very much correct. You know, ultimately they would just sort of go off their own direction. Whoever those inhabitants, those colonists would be influenced by their environment, even if the differences were very subtle. And yeah, they would evolve away. I agree. George. Yeah. But all that being said, yeah, I mean, that's what stories are for. They give us the futures that we probably won't have, but we can still enjoy that escape, right, into just imagination. A world of pure imagination. Mm-hmm. We should send people to Mars as if you want to kill them. Yeah. I mean, the atmosphere won't protect you from, radiation from the sun. There's no ozone layer, right? There's no... I mean, maybe there's something at the poles that might resemble liquid water, but the soil is just not, Yeah. I'm afraid, yeah, Elon's dream is just not gonna be a thing. And there was something maybe about like 10, 15 years ago, too. There was going to be this project called Mars One, where they, looking for volunteers to actually, like, they were claiming to be planning this Mars colony. And no air or food, yeah. No way to grow food. They'd have to, yeah. And I actually knew someone who, like, made the list. Right? This woman lives in Austin. I mean, of course, it's not going to happen, but, she had actually been one of the people to apply for this, and they, she got accepted, but of course, the thing never happened. It never was going to. And I remember at the time, like, lots of articles in the news that were all like, hey, these Mars One people, they're all going to die, that's just all there is to it. Musk, he does indeed, yeah. George, that is a detail that the movie, it's very fascinating. There was a movie called Ad Astra a few years ago, and there is a brief scene where they, like, they're doing this trek out to the end of the solar system, and they stop on Mars. There's, like, it's I mean, they do have to, because to basically board the ship that will go out to the end of the solar system, and that is, it's accurately presented that way. The base is underground because it has to be, because there's no, and it is only, no one lives there except people who are like working, in this industry of solar system exploration, where it is like the waypoint, right? Where you you go from Earth to Mars, and then you stop there, and then from Mars you launch to the outer solar system, and that's realistic. That's how it really would be. It's not this. No, it's just not going to be this. The moon is what is presented as like a people's playground, right? Where there's all kinds of tourists stopping at the little moon city, but yeah, Mars is maybe there's maybe like 20 people there, and it's all very brutalist and just not fun and grim and probably very lonely, shitty place to be in the story. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Kale. Yeah, just wave. Right. Indeed. Yes, Devlin. I think that I would approve of that. That program. Uh, the chance to begin again. You guys are the best. Yeah, that is. Yeah, unfortunately, cynicism about the future has, you know, tends to be borne out. I mean, there have been a lot of terrific things that have come about as we've moved along the passage of time, but it does seem like the human race can't stop making the same mistakes over and over. So, yeah, I agree. It's easy to see why now. Yep. That's the line. Okay, well, good to have you drop by, Kel. Thanks very much. Come on back. Anytime. right. And everyone, at this time, that is 45 minutes down, and second session is over. So I want to thank all of you for a very enjoyable and pleasant couple of hours tonight in yet another stream. So, as always, thank you so much for the ongoing support and just continuing to be the SFF180 family and hang out with me on these evenings. Because it's... I look forward to these every week, and so it means a lot to see you guys each time. So, thank you all so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe weekend and good weekend. I hope for peace in the world and all of that. And otherwise, yeah, indeed. So until I see all of you next time, please remember to stay safe and healthy and happy reading. And thank you once again for joining me. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.